Om Nityanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisam Tattvamasya Adilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Let us also bow down to Lord Sri Krishna before we start the Bhagavad Gita. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Charanuramadhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. I salute unto you, Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, Guru, Master of the world, Son of Vasudeva, Supreme Bliss of Devaki, Destroyer of Kamsa and Chanura. I bow down to you. Now, yesterday we were speaking about how Arjuna falters in the war field. He is very well aware who is present on the battlefield and everything. But still, somehow, he is hoping in the last. See, he knows only Krishna is the one who can do anything, change the Kurukshetra war into peace also. So, he's hoping, he's delaying that maybe in the last moment, Krishna will change everything. So, he's telling, please position my chariot between the two armies. Let me see every person who is there for war here, all the warriors. But he is well aware of all these things. When Bhishma sounded his conch and invited, this is what Arjuna said to Krishna. And also Sanjaya, who is having the third eye power, who is narrating this whole story of the war field to Dhritarashtra, he is not telling about Arjuna faltering. He is talking about hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were shattered when Krishna and Arjuna blew their conches. When Pandava warriors blew their conches. Means Sanjay also has an intuition of future, right? So he is significantly talking about only Kauravas getting faltering and shattered. Okay? Their hearts being shattered. So this is what we were speaking yesterday. See, you should also understand, Arjuna is not just a mere hero of Mahabharata in this Gita scripture. He is the embodiment of all humanity, all of us, right? It makes no sense at all for Arjuna to ask Krishna at this last minute to show him clearly who he is fighting against. It's like he's hoping that at the last minute something would occur to change the course of events. It's like Arjuna was making a desperate plea to Krishna. Please show me something I don't know. You alone can do it. Arjuna, he's telling, means infallible one, divine, show me. He's also saying, let me see these well-wishers in this war of the evil-minded Duryodhana who have come together here to fight. Arjuna is saying this. Now Sanjaya is saying to Dhritarashtra, O descendant of Bharat, being thus addressed by Gudakesha Arjuna, he is telling Dhritarashtra, O descendant of Bharata, means Bharat is such a, see this, how this Bharata name came, their ancestor Bharata, understand? Bharata is he was the king of this country. Later it started on his name only, they started calling him as Bharata, India. See, he's telling such a great Bharat, you are descendant of that. Why he is addressing that way? Because he's not liking what Dhritarashtra is doing, right? So he's addressing Dhritarashtra, O descendant of Bharata, and he is again narrating. Being thus addressed by Gudakesha Arjuna, means like this, when Arjuna addressed Hrishikesha Krishna, then Hrishikesha Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of both armies. Sanjaya is narrating this way. See, understand, Arjuna starts out on a challenging note. He says he would like to see all those who had assembled to fight him in support of the evil-minded Duryodhana. He's calling evil-minded Duryodhana. Accordingly, Krishna drew up the chariot between the two armies so that Arjuna could have a good look at all those who had gathered. Now, Sanjaya is addressing Arjuna. Arjuna is being called Gudakesha in this verse. Gudakeshana Bharata means the one who has transcended sleep or the need to sleep. Sleep here also refers to the unconscious mind. Gudakesha means, see, Arjuna, he, conquered sleep. That's why he was given Gudakesha, the name. See, understand, he is addressing Arjuna as Gudakesha. Sleep here also refers not only just normal sleep, it also refers to the unconscious mind, the incomplete inner space. Please listen. Sleep is nothing but the rest we need to give to our tired inner chatter, right? Because when we are awake, some inner chattering will be happening. Sleep is related to the incompletions of the mind. All our incompletions that drive our actions reside in our unconscious space as root thought patterns. Please listen carefully. All our incompletions that drive our actions reside in our unconscious space as root thought patterns. Only thing we need to go beyond sleep is a complete inner space. How can we go beyond space, beyond sleep? If your inner space is complete only, you will be able to go beyond sleep without being tired. So now, what brings completion to inner space? Integrity. Understand? Integrity brings deep sleep to us, makes us conquer tiredness and ultimately conquer sleep. Because even if we are sleeping for 6 hours or 7 hours, we are not having the supposed to be deep sleep. Understanding? So if integrity only brings deep sleep to us, it will make us conquer tiredness and ultimately conquer sleep. So Arjuna's integrity, the power of words. Let me define integrity. The first spiritual principle, integrity, is the key which unlocks the power of words or Vakshakti. Again and again, why Swamiji is insisting on this integrity? That is life. Understand? Integrity is you fulfilling the word or thought you give to yourself and to others and experiencing a state of completion, purnatva, with yourself and with life. This is the definition of integrity. Integrity has two dimensions: honoring the words you give to yourself and honoring the words you give to others. Please understand, the key point is honoring the word you give to you. See, understand, who is the first person to hear the words you utter? You are uttering something. Who is the first person to hear? You, isn't it? Now the words I'm uttering to you all, when it's coming from my mouth, I'm hearing first. It's coming from this body, isn't it? Some processing is happening here and then only it's coming out. No. So we are the first persons to hear our own words, which we utter. So when we honor the words we give to ourselves, our confidence in ourselves grows and our self-doubt melts away. Understand, self-doubt is the root for self-hatred, self-denial, for everything, right? We will become powerful. When we honor the words we give to others, others' confidence in you will grow. Your relationship with that person becomes powerful. The words you utter are you. The words you speak to yourself and others, if you go on saying, I am sick, I am sick, I am sick, you will simply become sick. In the same way, if you constantly tell yourself, I am healthy, I am healthy, I am healthy, your energy will wake up. If you constantly tell yourself, I am healthy, your energy will wake up. You will be very healthy. Cosmic, that is why you should not utter unconscious words. By just hearing itself, so much is being cleansed. You know what I mean? Because the words you hear only will become your thought processing. No. That only, after it becomes thought process only, you will be living it, isn't it? Cosmic energy awakens in your system and makes your declarations a reality. It is important to choose the right words because you can create your reality with the power of your words. I'll give a story, one small story. Once a small town was visited by a saint. As the saint passed by a small hut, a woman came to him and begged him to pray for her dying child. Since the saint was new to the town, a crowd gathered around him, curious to see if he could do anything. The woman brought the sick child out to him and he said a prayer over her. Do you really think your prayer will help the child when even medicine has failed? After all, they are just some words, yelled a man from the crowd. The saint turned and started shouting at the man, "You idiot, you don't know what I'm doing, just shut up." The man was furious. His face grew red and hot. "How dare you insult me?" he shouted at the saint. The saint smiled at him calmly and said, "If one word has the power to make you so angry, will not my another word have the power to heal this child?" See, when the saint turned and said, "You idiot," that guy got so angry. So one word the saint uttered, that guy, it made him that angry, no? So the saint is asking, if my one word made you angry, naturally my another word can heal the child too. That is the power of words. Listen, every thought we complete is the word we give to us. We have to honor it. The first step of integrity is completing all the negative words we created within us about us and life, and completing all of them with integrity. Then our inner chatter will disappear. It never becomes tired. See, by bringing integrity to his thinking and words, Arjuna had conquered his tiredness, his boredom, his powerlessness, and conflicts. See, Arjuna is being referred to here as one who has conquered sleep. As a result of tirelessly doing Purnatva, completion with all the negative words he carried, he conquered sleep. Because of Arjuna's integrity, the power of words or Vakshakti became available to him. That is why, to fulfill the words of Arjuna, Sri Krishna, the cosmos himself, becomes his charioteer, leading him to his total surrender to divine. So now Sanjaya, Krishna has been called Rishikesha by Sanjaya. Rishikesha means one who controls the senses from his powerful space of completion. See, understand? Krishna, a person who does not have even one moment of powerlessness or incompletion in his life, he is an incarnational enlightened being. A person who never had any patterns, any incompletions in his life, right from his birth, is an incarnation. Physically, mentally, and spiritually, Sri Krishna is the space of eternal completion. His senses are complete as he shows what he experienced through them is not the source of happiness. The relationship between Krishna and Arjuna is the highest form of interaction between the divine and the human. You see, for one who is caught in the sleep of unconscious patterns, this world of illusion, Maya, appears utterly real. But the enlightened master has awakened to the level of pure consciousness and knows that this world is just another type of dream. When the disciple is able to completely trust the master's senses that this world is illusion and not his own senses that gives the incomplete pseudo idea that this world is real and is the source of his happiness, then the surrender is total. Understand clearly. When a disciple is able to completely trust mastered senses instead of his senses, then the surrender is total. When approaching the divine or one's master, the ultimate step is one of complete surrender. There's no words for surrender. Actually, it's wrongly called as surrender. Sharanagati in Sanskrit. Sharanagati. Because we don't have any other words in English, we call as surrender. Surrender is not giving the deep meaning what Sharanagati means. I will tell you the stages of surrender, the levels of surrender. This surrender happens in 3 stages, 3 levels. At the first level, it is an intellectual surrender. The intellectual acceptance of what the master represents and what he means to you. A true seeker reaches this stage when he encounters the real master, the real Sadguru, destined for him. Destined for him. The real master who is destined for you may be different from mine. Of course, All of us were on this screen. For us, our real master to whom we are destined to is Swamiji. The seeker sees in the master qualities he has been searching for. His questions start dying down and answers come even before questions happen. Understand, when you see your true master, the questions start dying down and answers come even before questions happen. Intellectual surrender to the master replaces inadequate questions with adequate doubts. I'm talking about the first level, first stage. Doubts are not violent like questions, as they do not arise from the root patterns or ego. Generally, question arises from the root patterns or ego. So, our questions, inadequate questions, will be replaced by adequate doubts. That is intellectual surrender. They arise from a genuine, authentic need to know, to create adequate, complete cognition. Despite his high level of surrender, one does see Arjuna initially in this state of questioning, perhaps as a lesson to us. Understand? The first question, when Arjuna was asking the question, perhaps he was in that level at that moment. It's a lesson to us. Now I'll talk about the next level of surrender. After this intellectual surrender, one reaches the state of emotional surrender. That means from Shastras, one moves to Stotras, from the head to the heart. It is like coming home when the heart surrenders. It will be like coming home when the heart surrenders. One feels a deep connection with the Guru and constantly remembers him. It is impossible to forget him, right? You can't even forget in your sleep. His memory brings tears to one's eyes. Tears of gratitude that are impossible to hide. Paramahamsa Sri Ramakrishna, the great incarnations, says so beautifully, when thinking of the divine or your Guru, Master, if you have tears streaming down your cheeks, be very sure that this is your last birth. If by thinking of your Guru or Master or divine, if you have tears streaming down your cheeks, be very sure that this is your last birth. Emotional surrender leads one close to liberation. At the final level, third level, is surrender of the senses itself. One truly realizes Rishikesha, master of senses, and gives up one's distorted, incomplete sense of reality and embraces the truth of the absolute reality of Advaita, non-duality that the Master and every incarnation have expressed. Ultimately, we must move beyond both doubt and faith. Understand? Not only doubt, even we must move beyond both doubt and faith to completion that creates a deep trust in the Master, on you. He is God. We will trust him. He should trust you. Recognizing that everything the Master expresses is for our liberation. As Arjuna progresses through the Gita, layers of his incompletions peel off and he travels into deeper stages of surrender. It's an initiation for Arjuna, isn't it? Look, Bhagavan is giving initiation on the battlefield. Arjuna calls Duryodhana evil-minded. This was to paint the contrast of his own state of mind to that of Duryodhana and rest of Kauravas. When one's mind is filled with patterns of greed, lust, envy, and fear, there is a single-minded focus on the potential material benefits. Duryodhana was like an animal operating out of instinct from his low-level consciousness. Unlike Arjuna, he was not an intelligent man and did not suffer from doubts and guilt. Animals suffer no guilt. They do not consider hunting their prey as something that needs discussion. Duryodhana is that way, right? Where he had any remorse? When he tried to disrobe the royal lady in front of the public court, did he feel any guilt? God. So it is with Duryodhana. He needs power, and his objectives were to do away with the Pandava princess and take away the entire kingdom. That's all. When a human behaves the way Duryodhana does, he is in an unconscious space, blindly driven by self-denial patterns. Please understand, when we are driven by root patterns, we don't even know what we do, why we are making money, why we have married, why we are living. Nothing. The Kaurava warriors, blindly driven by Duryodhana, did not know why they are fighting, why they want power, and exactly what is going to happen. Such a sad blindness that is, isn't it? With such an unconscious, incomplete space, Duryodhana and his allies did not suffer from any doubts. When our root patterns are driving our life, we may believe that we are winning, but we will never be driven to victory. If your enemy is driving you, will he be driving you towards victory? Mired totally in self-denial patterns, these Kaurava warriors followed Duryodhana blindly, unaware that the person they followed was blind himself. He himself is blind. I understand. If a blind person is there, he's asking help from a blind person to cross the road, cross your highway road. If that the person who's making you cross is also blind, where will he take you? On the road? In the intersection? What will happen? Arjuna, on the other hand, is in turmoil. He's driven by Hrishikesha, the master of senses, who can control and complete any root pattern. Duryodhana was driven by blind self-denial patterns. Arjuna was, no doubt he's in turmoil, but still, he was driven by Krishna, who was the master of senses, who can control and complete any root pattern in Arjuna. Arjuna's charioteer is Krishna himself, whose very life is a living science of completion. Krishna's life is a living science of completion. As Krishna brings the chariot to a stop between the two armies, in a metaphoric sense, he brings Arjuna's inner space to a steady state to drive him to completion. With Duryodhana's self-denial pattern, root pattern, of saying no to life, cloning itself into the manifold Kaurava army of conflicting patterns. Did you see? Whole Kaurava army went into conflicting patterns by just Duryodhana's self-denial root pattern of saying no to life. Even if Duryodhana won any war out of that pattern, he would never achieve satisfaction or completion. Because the reason he's fighting for power is to feel secure from his fear. He will feel secured only when he breaks that pattern, not by winning the war. It is the wrong strategy for the wrong reason. He has become aware of his root pattern. See, Duryodhana, like an animal, he doesn't know what his patterns are, right? He's unconscious. But Arjuna, he became aware of his root patterns. He is exposed to his inauthenticities and is working to free himself from their bondage, from the bondage of inauthenticity. However, he is not in the zone of light yet. He is working. Not yet. He didn't go beyond yet. The conflict between Arjuna and Duryodhana is the conflict that all humans face within themselves. A conflict between their possibility and patterns. Understand? This is the fight between Arjuna and Duryodhana is the fight in all humans. We face ourselves. What do we feel? What do we face? Our conflict between our possibility and patterns. Conflict between our possibility and deep unconscious desires. See, these deep unconscious desires are coming from where? From the patterns. The incompletions driven by their root patterns. And the possibility of completion, consciousness. That is a conflict. The incompletions driven by their root patterns and the possibility of completion, consciousness. The conflict between these two. Understand, completion is consciousness. Which part wins depends on one's ability to complete and surrender to the superconscious divine or the master, Sri Krishna. See, the fight is constantly going on. Which part of us wins? It depends on our ability to complete and surrender to the superconsciousness, divine, our master. So as long as one is in darkness, one does not miss light. But Arjuna is in the state of a person who has had sight and has now lost it. Understand? Suppose you saw only darkness in your life. You will never miss light, right? Am I right? Because you've never even seen it. Arjuna is not like that. Arjuna already saw the light and he lost the light. He had eyesight and he lost it. Or how it will be? He will miss it, isn't it? So Arjuna was one who was in the light of completion but fell into the darkness of incompletion. Yet, only in its own light can a moon even see its dark patches. And so is Arjuna now seeing his incompletions face to face. Understand? Seeing your incompletions face to face is being blessed. Because Arjuna is seeing his incompletions face to face and is blessed to have the source of light, Jagat Guru Krishna, to enlighten him. We also, facing our incompletions face to face, we have the light of our Guru Swamiji, who is going to enlighten us. He is the source of light. He is an intelligent man, Arjuna, but suddenly wondered whether what he was doing might be wrong and evil. So he is disturbed. See that. Arjuna, he is an intelligent man, but suddenly he started wondering whether what he was doing might be wrong and evil. Even the thought disturbed him. But Duryodhana, on the other hand, has a mind that is always in darkness. He has never experienced true intelligence or completion. Therefore, words like immoral or non-integrity or inauthenticity, dharma or adharma would never even make sense to him. A person who is in total darkness, who never even seen light, what will happen? Such thing never even exists for them, isn't it? It's very intense and interesting. Now, Arjuna's dilemma. Arjuna faltered. Now his dilemma. In the presence of Bhishma, what is his dilemma? In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and other rulers of the world, Hrishikesa said, Partha, he is addressing Arjuna as Partha. Partha, behold all the Kurus who are assembled here. There, Arjuna could see within the armies of both parties his elders, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, cousins, sons, grandsons, and friends, as well as his fathers-in-law and well-wishers. When Arjuna, the son of Kunti, saw all these friends and relatives present there, he was overwhelmed with deep pity, and he said, Krishna, hey, Sri Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me, eager to wage war, I feel my limbs are trembling, my mouth drying, and my hair standing on end. My bow, Gandiva, slips from my hands, and my skin burns. And I'm unable to stand here any longer. I'm forgetting myself, and my mind is reeling. I foresee only evil omens. Oh, killer of the Kesi demon, Lord Krishna killed the demon called Kesi. So he's addressing Keshava. I foresee only evil omens. I'm trembling. I'm unable to stand. Krishna is saying, what will Krishna do then? He will think, all the teachings hold, all so many years ago, what happened to them? Krishna parked the chariot between the two armies and he said to Arjuna, here are the people you wished to see. Arjuna wanted to see, right? Those who were about to fight him and die. And Krishna, with no mercy at all, showed him that these were Arjuna's near and dear ones. Krishna himself was related to Arjuna. Kunti, Arjuna's mother, also known as Pritha, was Krishna's aunt, sister of Krishna's father Vasudeva. So he addresses Arjuna here as Partha, means the son of Pritha, emphasizing their relationship. Look, guys, every word has a story behind it. Even somebody addressing something to someone, there's a story behind it. So Krishna Partha, when he's saying, he's reminding Arjuna, hey, I am also related to you. Krishna is also referred to in Gita as Partha Saradhi, the charioteer of Partha, means Arjuna. Krishna is also called as Partha Saradhi. See, assembled in front of Arjuna were compatriots of his father Pandu, grandfathers and great grandfathers such as Bhishma, his own teachers such as Drona and Kripa, uncles such as Shakuni, brothers and cousins. As all the Kaurava princes were friends and well-wishers, at one time or another, each of them had been an object of affection and respect to Arjuna. Now they were part of this enemy army. What will happen? Arjuna Vishada, root pattern of a thinking man. The expression of Arjuna's dilemma starts here. The theme of Gita is the story of Arjuna's dilemma, his incompletion, and its completion by Krishna. That is the theme of this whole Gita. As a warrior, as a Kshatriya, Arjuna was used to killing in battle. It's not like first time he's killing somebody. He was no stranger to death and violence. As long as those who faced him were his enemies, Arjuna had no difficulty in carrying out the execution. However, those in front of him now were his swajanam, his relatives, people who actually were like his father, grandfathers, uncles, brothers, sons, and grandsons, tied to him with bonds of blood. Many others were his friends with whom he had previously enjoyed bonds of loyalty. Arjuna's dilemma was not one of non-violence. Understand here. If Arjuna's dilemma is from non-violence, that is different. But Arjuna is used to killing. As long as he didn't know the people who were in front of him. As long as they were his enemies, he was okay with killing. He was okay with violence. So now also he is not speaking with non-violence. His dilemma is his attachment, bondage with those people. As a Kshatriya, this word ahimsa had no place in his dictionary. Actually. So his dilemma was one of violence. Violence born out of his ego, his identity. Understand? That is why Krishna is insisting. See, if it is arising from ahimsa, non-violence, Krishna will not say anything. Here, once upon a time, he killed everybody who were his enemies. But now, just because these people are his own people, he is having identity. My uncle, my father, my teacher, like that. So this dilemma is coming from his ego, his identity, not from ahimsa. It's not coming from a completion space. He could kill people he did not identify with, but he could not bear to kill those whom he could relate with himself in one way or another. This is ego only, no? This is violence only. The bonds of family were far stronger than Arjuna had imagined. These bonds were rooted in his ego, and to cut these bonds was to destroy himself. This is what was Arjuna's dilemma. Dilemma was not between violence and non-violence. Dilemma is between violence and violence. Dilemma is between his violence and ego, identity, which is again violence. That is his dilemma. What follows now is a bunch of fantasies, inauthenticities that Arjuna's mind weaves in an attempt to justify his dilemma. Look at that. Now we saw the root of the dilemma, right? Now let us see how he is making up stories to justify his dilemma. Why such significantly we are saying? That's exactly what we do in our life. Not only we do something, just because we said something or did something, to make it right, we will justify it, isn't it? We don't make the result right. No. Just to prove that we did something right, we will justify it. Look now, the bunch of fantasies, what he's weaving, Arjuna. That's exactly, please understand, we are only Arjunas. That is why. We should imagine what we are weaving in our lives. It is what the human mind conjures up time and again as its projection of the unconscious root thought patterns, trying to justify as authentic action. However, Arjuna's emotion was discriminatory, inauthentic. He felt pity only because they were his kinsmen, only because he identified with them, not because of his authenticity and responsibility to enrich them, not because he felt that all of them were his own extensions. And so, by not fighting them, he would in turn not fight himself. This was not compassion born out of ahimsa, non-violence, but it is pity which is born out of himsa, violence. Arjuna's emotions arose from his root pattern, his ego. See, if he is feeling pity like this now, he is not feeling like fighting. Then as a Kshatriya, when he is facing other enemies also, before Kurukshetra, when he was fighting with other whatever, then that time also he should feel this way, isn't it? But that time he was okay with killing. So this is pity which is born out of himsa, violence, not compassion born out of ahimsa, non-violence. So Arjuna's emotions arose from his root pattern, his ego. True compassion arises from a state of integrity and authenticity, the absence of ego, where one's inner and outer identities are aligned, and one expresses peak of one's positivity and possibility. It arises from a state of responsibility, out of no mind and no thought, where the feelings of I and mine have disappeared, and one realizes that one is the source of everything, and so one is responsible for everything. True compassion is a state of completion and bliss, one of true surrender to the universe. True surrender to the Master. Understand? I wanted to give an example, but the way we approach our Master matters a lot. He is ours, that's all. We are His, that's all. Only that should be there. There's no give and take relationship. There's no asking and taking. Understand? Suppose your hand is there, it starts paining. Automatically, I will attend to it by giving it some medicine. Am I right? Because this hand is my extension. This hand does not have to come and tell me, please give me medicine, please give me medicine. I am unable to take, I am paining here, this is paining here. It doesn't have to come and tell me. Am I right? I already know. When something is happening in my limbs, I already know. I will already attend. Same way, when we are His, He is ours, do we have to tell Him anything in the first place? Do we have to even ask anything? Already He knows, and the attending will automatically happen. That's it. Here, where is the time even for us to tell and He has to come and attend? No, it's an automated. Surrender has so much depth, I tell you. Sharanagati.